So today we're going to do a how-to video on how to create a Google Form assessment using Google Forms and the new quiz feature that had dropped this summer. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to start out in our Google Chrome window here, and we're going to go ahead and type in drive.google.com, and this is going to bring up our Google Drive. So once our Google Drive loads, we have all of our work here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new something here. And if you see, Google Forms does not show up right away, so we need to scroll down to where it says More, click Google Forms. Now, it brings us a blank form, and there's a lot of different parts of this form that we'll go over. The first thing we want to do is, since this is going to be an SAT word of the day, we're going to title it SAT Word of the Day. So we have our title. Now if we go ahead and click up here, this is going to name our file in our Google Drive to match the title of our actual assessment here. So before we move on, we want to go over here to the little gear. This is our settings. So we have general settings, presentation settings, and quizzes. The first thing we want to do is enable this assessment to be an assessment. So here we enable it to make it a quiz. This here means it will immediately grade after each submission. So when the students submit their assessment, they will get an immediate grade. And then here, as a teacher, you could choose, do you want to show missed questions? Do you want to show the correct answers to those missed questions? And also, do you want to show the point values for those? So those are all up to you, personal choice. If we look at presentation, we don't do much here, but we could put a confirmation message in here. Something along the lines of thank you for completing the assessment. And then when the students complete the assessment, they will get this message there. So we will save that. Let's go back into our settings one more time under general. So here I'm going to put collect email addresses, because what this will do is collect the email address from every student that takes this assessment. We can restrict it to SYC domain only, so only users that have an SYC domain will be able to take this quiz. I'm also going to limit it to one response, because that's all we need to allow for the students to take is one response. And then we do not want them to edit it after they submit, and we don't want them to see the charts and text responses. That is for us as teachers. So now that we've saved that, we've created this form into an actual assessment. So now that we have our title created, we're going to go ahead and we're going to add our actual word of the day, which is going to be malcontent. And as we create the questions, to save some time, I'm going to copy and paste the actual questions in here so we don't waste time watching me type. So we have our first question. As you can see here, we have answer key. This is going to be crucial for when we want to decide to assign the correct answer for the actual definition. So what we're going to do here is we're going to copy and paste, which I have created already to save time, our form. So basically we're going to define malcontent. And Google automatically prompts you to switch it to paragraph as if you were going to want a paragraph definition. But for what we're going to do here now is, of all our choices, we're going to choose multiple choice. This gives us options. So what we're going to do is we're going to insert our definitions as needed. And as we insert these definitions, they will pop in here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to assign what the actual correct answer is. So here we have three choices, and we know that the first choice here is the actual answer. But for Google to be able to grade this, what we need to do is we need to go to our answer key, and then we have to select here. Now as a teacher, you could decide how many points you want to assign for this actual question. So for this activity, we'll assign it 2 points. Now that we've assigned it 2 points, we can go back to edit the question, and our question is complete, and we can see here that it's multiple choice and that this is the correct answer for the actual question of define malcontent. Now, what I always do, because if you don't make this required, the students could submit the form without actually completing the answer to the question. So now we want to move on to another question. So this question, what we're going to do, we're going to drop down from our different type of questions, and we are going to choose checkboxes. So what checkboxes will do will allow the students to answer and give more answers than just one. So for this question, I'm going to make it pretty basic and say synonyms. Click all that apply. So for number 1, we will call it troublemaker. Number 2, party animal. Number 3, mischief maker. And number 4, rebel. Now we need to look at this here, and we have to set our answer key. Setting our answer key, we have 3 of these could be considered synonyms. So what we're going to do for this one, we'll assign 6 points, and we will pick our correct answer. So troublemaker, mischief maker, rebel. Those all came up as synonyms for malcontent in Merriam-Webster's. So now that that's complete, we're going to go back to edit our question. So now we have 2 questions complete. Again, we want to make sure that we click required. Now that that's questions required, we're going to go through and we're going to do one more question, because this is just an exit slip quiz based on the SAT word of the day of malcontent. So this one we're going to do multiple choice again, and the question is going to be, which statement uses malcontent correctly? So we will edit our question in there. So we're going to have 2 multiple choice for this one. So option 1 will be this sentence: Sarah and Guyton both seemed malcontent with the argument, but she felt guilty about the money. So we're also going to take that, go to option 2, copy, and here's where you would normally type, but I'm going to paste to save time. We're going to go to our answer key. We're going to assign 4 points for this one, and we are going to click here. We can go back to our question. Now at any time when you want to take a preview of your work to see how you're doing, we could click the preview eyeball here, and what that's going to do is open another tab, and what we see here is exactly what the students will see. This question is worth 2 points. This question is worth 6 points. And this question is worth 4 points. And then we have our submit button. And because we clicked the box that wants the student's email address to be required, we have this here. In our school, what we do differently, it records an email address, but it's only a number. So what I need to do is, since I don't know which student is taking this, we're going to go back to the top of our form, and all we're going to do is add a question. And it puts the question below. And you can see these 6 dots right here. All we're going to do is slide this above, and it will make it our first question. From there, we're going to change it to short answer. Short answer is going to have our short answer text there. We're going to require it, and what we're going to do is call this name. So when the student begins, it will be their name. It gives us the option for an answer key to assign points for this, but we will not assign points for that because this is just the student's name. So moving forward, we have 0 points. Now we can go back to our preview. Once our preview is done here, we can see we have a name, our definition, and our 3 here. So we would assign this form to the students. So to demonstrate how the form actually auto grades, we're going to complete it ourselves. So I will put mark, and we're going to go through, and we're going to answer the quiz as is. So definition, this is our answer. So for our synonyms, we have our answers. And then for our final question, we have this answer. So now I'm going to hit submit. After hitting submit, it says thank you for completing the assessment. SAT Word of the Day malcontent. So now our students can view our score. So from this point here, the student gets immediate feedback as coming through total points, 12 of 12. Mark Holstein, it shows my correct answers and it shows how many points I've earned for each question. On the teacher end, we can go back and you can see we have one response. Obviously, depending on how big your class is, those responses will change. But what we're able to do with that, as far as insights go, we can look at our class as a whole, and it will give us an average, a median, and a range for the assessment. It will have all the students' emails here, their scores, the fact that they released the scores, and then it'll go through and actually break down each question for us. So we could look at a question and say the assessment was 30 questions long, and question 28, half the class got wrong. These graphs will reflect that. And then as a teacher, we can go back and either reteach the concept or look at the question to make sure it was worded correctly. So that is a basic introduction into creating an assessment in Google Forms.